Hi, with the drag bike here, I've been doing some work on the drag bike, as you know, and I've been doing a few bits and bobs. I did mention that I'd done a modification for the Moco oil cooler. I've decided to do something a bit different because same modification, but use a different pipework. I've managed to get a load of different bends and straights from Samco race hoses, and instead of welding what I've welded, everything's sealed bar one, which was it's like a 360-degree bender to do. But because I couldn't get the wire, the MIG wire, and the gun in close enough, I couldn't get a good enough seal, and it was just a little tiny pinhole that was coming out. So I decided, right, okay, let's look at something a bit different. So I'm going to show you what I've done. I've just started the bike up. Only run it for about 20-30 seconds just to let the oil settle again, because there's going to be more oil in because of the oil cooler and coolant settle. And I'm waiting for exhaust springs because I've had to double spring the headers. So what I did use for the rest of it, I haven't got. So I've got some springs on order. Hopefully they're here tomorrow. The bike has to get on the dyno as soon as. I'm going to leave the side panels off when it's on the dyno. I fitted the nitrous system back on, modified it slightly. I think there is a very slight leak somewhere. I know where it's going to be. It's going to be the gauge. The gauge is quite difficult to fit on here and also fit into the bracket at the same time. I could just suspend it dangling down, but I don't want it because of vibrations and movements. I want it mounted. So I had to mount it with this alley bracket behind it. There's an alley bracket there. It's quite thin, but they advise not to put any thread lock on anything on the nitrous, because if you get a bit through into the nitrous system, it'll block and it could be fatal to whatever you're doing. But in this case, I might have to just put a little touch on. I'll put it high up so it's not near the jet hole bit, and then see if that will seal it. It's leaked overnight. It's just leaked. I've turned the pressure on. In this cold weather, 600 psi, because obviously the bottle heater's not working. I've got different bottle heaters coming, full size ones, two of, so I could swap the plug over rather than swap the heater over every 2 minutes, depending on which bottle. And well, with the bottle heaters, you psi up to 800, whatever it should be at. In the UK here, we always have cold weather, so we have to compensate with the controller will compensate. It will drop fuel if nitrous drops as well, so it'll keep it at the 12.5 as what I've set on the air fuel ratio. It takes the reading from the wideband Dynajet air fuel ratio meter, and what it'll do, it will maintain that, and if it can't maintain it, it will shut the system off and it will just normally aspirate it. So I'll show you what I've done here, and then after that I'll go and take off this gauge and try and reseal it. I'm going to have to take the bottles off to do it, to get spanning in at it, so it'll take a little while, but hopefully that'll cure that. So I'll catch you a bit later. Alright, well, this is what I've done now. See, initially I had this pipe do a 90-degree up and onto that one. And it doesn't matter which way around these go, because it comes from the cool side. It doesn't matter which way it goes in or out. Now that's the best way I've managed to do it, with a couple of 180-degree bends, because this 180-degree bend wasn't tight enough to go up the back there to and without touching the exhaust, but all this has avoided the exhaust quite all right. And from what I've done, I've only done a trial. I think it'll be alright on the panel as well. I have to cut them down. Cut that one down a bit, so that come down a bit, and same with this bend here. But otherwise, I've not had to cut anything. I've used my original Samco one there because it's wider at this end. I think it's a 28mm there. Now they're all like 24-25mm pipes. I've got 3 pipes there. Could have done with 1 pipe here, but didn't have one. So like that. All these have got, what do they call it? Swage ends, is it? Where basically put the Jubilee in and it will not slide off past that. We've all got them, because the last thing you want is under pressure, it just slowly back off. because even on these are like that, but I had to go really tight because what was happening, it was you could still turn it, you could still rotate the whole thing on the pipe, but now you won't. So I'm just letting all that settle. I'm going to top the coolant up from the radiator. I filled it up here first, a note, I filled it up there first from the top of that before putting this bend in, because I didn't want airlock, because you could get quite a bit of an airlock here. It's normally quite bad on cars with airlocks, but I've not really had a major one on a bike. Or do I tell the light? No, I have, on a ZX14R. But anyway, I filled it up there first, and the fluid came up this, from putting in there, actually came up this pipe so far. Then I put the end on, and then I topped it up on the other side of the radiator as well. So that's what I did. I've only run it up for about 20 seconds, so the thermostat hasn't kicked in yet, and that will be the next test once everything's settled and I've topped everything back up again. Get it to thermostat to kick in and the fans to kick in to make sure everything's working. So that's it for now. I also done a modification on the fuel line, where my nitrous system takes it from a T-piece up here, around the back of there, and this is the infeed from the tank, and then I've got a bleed off pipe that it's not necessarily going to stay there, but a bleed off pipe, so when I'm running on race fuel, which I'm not yet, I can actually drain off the fuel after a meeting, and also give me an idea how much fuel I had left after what I put in, so I know how much it's using per run, and go from there really. I've also shortened the wheelbase because the dyno brought it right up. You'll have to go back again for centre pod. We use split links and lock wire it. There's two on this one, there and there, because we're always changing the wheelbase. There's no point using soft rivets all the time, because you know we're only doing 10 second runs hopefully, and then we always check afterwards. And what I normally do on top of that, we put silicone on the top, black silicone or white, and at a glance you can see if it's gone, and then you check the lock wire, redo it. Note on as well is the rotation of the wheel. Have it go the rotation of the wheel. The wheel rotates that way, so you want it to go that way in case of any impacts. That's what I've always told, rotation of the wheel. I've also lock wired my oil filter. We have a Jubilee clip on and then lock wire around your Jubilee, and it goes to the pipe here, pulling it so it will actually tighten. It won't back off that way because it will be pulling against it. Reason for that, I did have one of these oil filters back off. Whether it was a fault of one of the myself or my other spanner monkey as we call them, where it wasn't tightened properly. But saying that, we did a run pretty much all day like that, and even on the burnout, did no drips from it, nothing, and then all of a sudden we got to third gear, poof, oil everywhere, tyre spun up, shut off, stopped at the top, I looked down to see where it was coming from, oil filter. It's like as if someone had done it. It's crazy. Don't know how it could have done that, you know, considering first and second and even the burnout was okay. But anyway, these things happen. So that was costly in the end because big end number 4 went. So we had to have a rebuild, and it melted the crank and melted the con rod as well, so I need the con rod and crank as well. So it worked out quite expensive, especially running Curlio rods, and I couldn't get a second-hand crank anyway for Gen 2, so that's the way it was, unfortunately. Right, speak to you short. As you can hear, the bike's now running. I've got my long exhaust hose to make it quiet as possible, but when I'm drag racing sometimes I have a really loud exhaust on. I'm looking from the oil field there.